You've probably heard the phrase before. It's one of the most haunting, most famous lines in all of history, spoken at a moment of absolute agony. It really sounds like the end, doesn't it? Like total defeat? But what if it isn't an ending at all? What if it's actually the exact opposite? A coded message of ultimate victory? Well, let's dive in and unpack one of history's most powerful and most misunderstood statements.
Okay, so let's picture the scene. We're at a crucifixion. It's grim, it's brutal, it's a public execution designed for maximum humiliation and suffering. And it's right here, in this moment of what looks like complete and utter defeat, that we hear this cry. A cry that has echoed for 2,000 years. A cry that just seems to define what it means to be abandoned. And there it is. Those are the words shouted from the cross. I mean, on the surface, that is just a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking expression of pure anguish. It sounds like someone's faith is just shattering under unbearable pressure. It feels like a complete and total loss of hope. And that really is the central puzzle, isn't it? Was this the moment it all failed? Just a final, desperate scream from a man who felt totally alone, abandoned by the very God he dedicated his life to? Or is there something way deeper going on here? Something that the people standing there that day might have understood instantly, even if we miss it today. Okay, so here's the first huge reveal, the key that unlocks this whole thing. Those words, my God, why have you forsaken me?" They weren't original, they're a quote. In fact, they're the very first line of an ancient Hebrew song, a psalm. And back then, quoting the first line of a song was like, well, it was like someone today starting to sing "Just a Small Town Girl." You'd immediately know the rest of the song, right? The whole thing would pop into your head. It's the same idea here. So by saying that one line, Jesus isn't just expressing his own despair. He's essentially hitting play on the entire song. He's inviting everybody within earshot to bring the rest of the melody, the rest of the lyrics to mind. He's asking them to understand what's happening in that very moment through the lens of this very specific, very powerful prayer. And listen, this isn't some obscure B-side track either. This is a greatest hit. As Pope Benedict XVI pointed out, Psalm 22 is one of the most profound, most studied, most prayed psalms in the entire collection. It's a prayer that dives into the absolute depths of human suffering. But, and this is crucial, it does so while holding on to this unshakable trust in God. Now, check this out. This visual really shows you the psalm's unique structure. It's basically a song in two parts. You can see it starts way down here in this deep, dark valley of despair. But look, it doesn't stay there, not even close. It builds with this incredible momentum, moving up and up toward this final, soaring peak of absolute hope and vindication. It's literally a roadmap from agony to triumph. And this slide just perfectly illustrates that journey. The first half, man, it is brutal. I am a worm, dogs surround me, they have pierced my hands and my feet. It's raw. But then, look at the whiplash, the incredible shift in the second half. It completely transforms into this bold declaration of praise and promise and ultimate victory, where all the ends of the earth will remember and turn to the Lord. So by quoting that first line, Jesus is pointing to the whole arc, from the suffering all the way to the salvation. But the plot thickens, because Psalm 22 doesn't stand alone. For the people hearing this, it had a natural companion, another piece of the puzzle from the writings of the prophet Isaiah, specifically the famous passages about a figure known as the suffering servant. You see, for centuries, people read these two texts together. They saw them as two sides of the same coin, a kind of prophetic blueprint. Together, they told a single unified story, the story of a righteous man who suffers terribly, who is humiliated and abused, but who is ultimately vindicated by God, and through his suffering, brings salvation to everyone. And when you put them side by side like this, it is just, well, it's uncanny. The mockery and the jeering in the psalm lines up with the spitting in Isaiah. The piercing of hands and feet in the psalm lines up with being pierced for our transgressions in Isaiah. It's like Psalm 22 is the inner monologue, the raw emotional voice of the very same suffering servant that Isaiah is describing from the outside. And this line from Isaiah, wow, it just perfectly captures the spirit of this whole story. I have set my face like flint. Think about that. That's not the language of someone who's giving up. That is the language of someone with unbreakable, resolute conviction. It's this deep, unwavering trust that no matter how bad things look right now, the final outcome isn't going to be shame. It's going to be victory. Okay, so let's put all the pieces on the table. We have the cry from the cross, which we now know is the first line of a two-part song. We have the song itself, Psalm 22, which goes from despair to victory. And we have its companion story, the suffering servant from Isaiah. What does this all add up to? Well, it completely reframes the entire crucifixion. So let's put it all together. That cry from the cross wasn't a moment of broken faith. It was a declaration of it. It was Jesus essentially shouting, hey, you all hear these words of despair. This is just verse 1. Remember the whole song. You know how this story ends, and it's not in defeat. It's in glory. The sources we're looking at frame this whole thing as a kind of great cosmic reversal. Think about it. The story of human brokenness, way back in the beginning, started with an act of disobedience, right? With Adam saying no to God's will. That set the pattern for everything that followed. Well, Christ's life, and especially his death on the cross, was the ultimate yes. Despite all the pain, the betrayal, the humiliation, everything the world and the devil could throw at him to get him to say no, he kept on loving, forgiving, and obeying. His unwavering yes completely reversed the no of Adam. And that brings us to this absolutely stunning conclusion from the source material. The crucifixion wasn't a defeat for God. It was D-Day for the devil. It was that moment a beachhead of pure love and obedience was established in a world run by disobedience. It was the beginning of the liberation for all of us. So, this incredible ancient story isn't just theology or history class. It's actually a practical blueprint for resilience. This pattern of enduring incredible hardship with the absolute conviction of an eventual victory, it offers some pretty profound wisdom for any of us, whether we're in leadership or just facing our own tough times. This whole story really gives us a powerful 4-step model for leadership. So step 1, you've got to name reality. Be honest about the pain and the struggle, but without spiraling into despair. Step 2, practice that steady resolve. Set your face like flint, just like Isaiah said. Step 3, and this is a big one, choose to serve others, to serve the mission over just protecting yourself. And finally, step 4, let your setbacks refine you, not define you. Let that pressure turn you into a diamond. So we'll end with this question, just something for you to think about. The next time you're facing one of your own great challenges, when you feel like you're in that first half of the song, what could change if you remembered this whole story? What might be different if you chose to have faith in a final victory, hope in the face of despair, and charity for others, even when it's the hardest thing to do?